What's up, History 11 students? Today we have a quick opportunity to assess on the uh, text evidence standard. We're going to do that by starting to look at primary sources, so assessing a primary source's credibility. In particular, we're going to look at Thomas Jefferson's memoir of the time when he was in France, watching and participating at the start of the revolution. So later in life, he wrote a memoir, but a book. But when he was younger, he had actually been in France uh, while these events were taking place. And so, are his words credible evidence of what he witnessed? That's what we're finding out about today. So this is kind of a little bit of a background. The revolution is entering stage two. So Lafayette, with Jefferson's help, had declared democratic rights for all French citizens. That was the rights of men. Nobles and church leaders had lost all their special privileges. Um, and also, the counter-revolution was also happening, and so other kingdoms, other European kingdoms, were attacking revolutionary France, and many inside France were just really not on board, with what radicals up in Paris were doing. And so there was just a lot of tension, that of course then leads to the execution of the king, as well as what would then become the reign of terror, which we've already started to kind of look at a little bit. Okay, so Thomas Jefferson lived in France during this time. He was the U.S. ambassador. And Thomas Jefferson was a radical revolutionary himself. He really wanted the U.S. to support the French Revolution, even when the terror kind of got started. He was, making statements about how the Tree of Liberty needs to be, watered with the blood of patriots, kind of thing. So, he got away from that after a while when he started to realize, like, okay, this is getting really out of hand. But Thomas Jefferson was a radical himself. He was definitely pro-revolution. So we're going to apply. Sorry, this is kind of in the way. We're going to apply the crap test from not from yesterday, from 2 days ago, to what Jefferson what he wrote. And so when you're analyzing uh, a primary source for text evidence, as text evidence, we need to decide if it's credible. Like, can we use it? Is it worthwhile evidence, or is it the kind of evidence that we have to use but discuss? And so actually that's probably more accurate. It's not just like, do we use this evidence or not? Like, how do we talk about it? How do we analyze it? Um, to see, bias or maybe inaccuracy, to be a little bit more nuanced when we use that evidence. And so here's one of the ways you can do it. The crap test. Currency, was it timely? To the info. Was this document from that same time? Relevant? Is it fitting our needs? Authority. So who was writing it? Where did the source come from? Accuracy. Is it reliable? And purpose. So why did this document get written or created in the first place? And so here's Jefferson's memoir. There's a link to it in the Library of Congress, which you can see here. And so this is actually the written text of what we're going to be reading. But again, the question is it credible evidence for historians? Oh, here's the passage. A passage from the memoir of Thomas Jefferson, who was the U.S. foreign minister to France and lived in Paris in 1789. This segment, written in 1821, describes the leadership of King Louis XVI of France in 1789 during the French Revolution. Okay, so here's what he writes. King Louis XVI had not a wish but for the good of the nation, and for that object no personal sacrifice would ever have cost him a moment's regret. But his mind was weakness itself, his constitution timid, his judgment null, and without sufficient firmness even to stand by the faith of his word. His queen, too, was haughty, and bearing no contradiction, had an absolute ascendancy over him. And around her were rallied the king's brother D'Artois, the court generally, and the aristocratic part of his ministers. Here's your task. Evaluate Thomas Jefferson's statement about the King of France. How might this passage from Thomas Jefferson's memoir be useful as evidence about the leadership of Louis XVI during the French Revolution? And what about this source makes it less useful as evidence about the leadership of King of Louis XVI during the French Revolution? So, question one: why would this be good evidence? Question two: why would it be less than good, or why would it be less useful? have to answer both of those, kind of why it's good, but also why it's problematic. And then a quick look at the rubric. So now that you're in 10th grade, citing text evidence becomes more complicated, especially in history. We have to, if you're meeting standard, you have to cite text evidence um, uh, attending to such features as the date and origin of the information. So you need to be talking about the date and origin of the information as you refer to the text evidence, instead of just citing it as fact. And then if you're exceeding standard, you're connecting insights gained from specific details. Okay, and you're using the CRAP test: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, purpose. Not all of those, but evidence reflects some aspects of the source. So you're including this in your analysis in some way. I just want to mention that because that's the rubric that we're using. Your your um, your task is just to answer these two questions, and as you answer these two questions, you'll be discussing the date and the origin of the information. You should be including things about currency, authority, accuracy, purpose, that type of thing. Alrighty, have a wonderful day.